correct me if I'm wrong, right? Tell me if I'm wrong, or if my take is wrong on this, or if I'm having a proper non-lib take. Oops, said it again. I don't think that any of these pardons, judicial nominations, all of this is a question of, by the way, it's black letter law, okay? If you have someone who's, on their deathbed, and this happens all the time in family law, family court, where someone will come in and say, oh, they signed this will, but, they didn't have power of attorney. This is why, by the way, when people get older, they sign off power of attorney. This is exactly why we have this. And it's well known that in these cases, that if you are not of sound mind, then that contract does not hold validity. It does not hold up in court. And so it's been overturned time and time again in family court and so many other places when you're dealing with people, by the way, who are in similar situations. And God forbid, right? God forbid. We're not saying that we want this to happen, that we wish this on anyone, but it's true. And unfortunately, what the Democrats did to us and our country was that they put this guy up as the president of the United States, lied about his mental status, clearly lied about his cancer status, by the way, which obviously played a role in all of this. What should the response be? Should we just sit back and say, oh, well, all these judges and Ketanji Brown Jackson and all the pardons and Fauci, it's all valid and it is what it is because you followed the rules or something? I think it's ridiculous. What's your sense?
Yeah, I would not sit back and say, oh, this is fine. I would have actually said that, admittedly, 4 or 5 years ago. I was a proper conservative, let's rule the way we want the left to be, right? Let's play by the rules we want them to be playing by. The left changed me. They changed a lot of us. And we are the conservatives.
Who radicalized you? Who radicalized you? You did.
I've been a conservative for my entire life. I was in New York City at a prep school. They put me on a diversity panel in high school for being different because I was the only outspoken conservative in my New York City prep school. But I am so changed and radicalized over the last 4 or 5, really 8, 9 years that no, I think we have to go after this. And exactly to your point, we were discussing this just before the show that here in Florida, when people have their second or third or fourth or whatever wives, this happens.
I wasn't going to say it on air. I wasn't going to say it on air.
I'll be the one to say it because I'm the Florida resident.
We are here in Southern Florida. So yeah, there's a little bit of a trend of that going on.
We definitely see it. I saw it last night at a restaurant. So anyway.
Oh no.
Yes, I was introduced to someone's wife. It doesn't really matter. But
so you are auditioning for 3 or 4?
Yes, exactly.
Excellent.
I see myself as a third, not a fourth.
Okay,
wife,
gotcha.
Yes. But no, I absolutely agree with you. We need to be going after this because it's not just playing dumb on the left's part. There is an arrogance here, which is that they can do things like this and get away with it. And then we'll just sit on our hands, roll over and let this happen. And we cannot be those conservatives anymore.
So we wrote about this last year in the anti-communism book that we put out. And we actually wrote this as an action plan book. And so there's a whole chapter, it's the last chapter of it, where we talk about what conservatives should be doing. And fight back was pretty much the way it all sums up. But we got into the underpinnings of it as well, because if you have one side that is willing to arrest presidents, that's willing to arrest lawyers, that's willing to go after supporters, members of the administration, and one side that isn't willing to do that at all, what's going to happen? Mm-hmm. What is going to happen? Well, all of you are going to end up in jail because one side is willing to use power and the other side isn't. And I got in so much trouble for saying this at the National Conservatism Conference last year when I got up and said it's very simple, that if all you have are principles and no power whatsoever, then you are not principled. You are delusional. There's a word for that. It's called delusional. You have no idea what you're doing. So you need to have power and principles. By the way, and if you have only power but no principles, then you're tyrannical, right? Mm-hmm. So of course they left all that part off when they were going on me when I put this all together, and they said, "Oh, this guy just wants to have." I didn't say that. Power plus principles. If you only have principles and no power, you have nothing. Yeah. So we called it this became a very flowery phrase for it called the iron law of exact reciprocity. That which was done to us will be done back to the very people who did it to us in the first place. So people like, oh, I don't know, Anthony Fauci, Hunter Biden, mm-hmm. the Jan 6 committee, mm-hmm. Adam Kinzinger, Liz Cheney, Benny Thompson, anyone who collaborated with the Jan 6 committee. I mean, I feel like there's case by case basis. We'll have a conversation about that. You know, the Hutch, you know, Cassidy Hutchinson, we call her the Hutch around here. But there really needs to be a response. And if there isn't a response, you have it's like a relationship, right? It's like a relationship. If one person dominates over the other, then there's no balance.
Yes.
There's no balance at all.
It is time for us to set healthy boundaries and leave the abusive relationship that we have with the left. And also I've seen this phrase with different adjectives thrown in, but you know, it's basically saying if you're kind to evil people, you're doing evil to kind people. And we have a responsibility here, which is to take care of evil people. You can't just let this slide. You actually have to exact justice. Otherwise, they will keep doing this. What happens in the midterms? What happens? We won't be in power forever. Whether we are able to maintain control in the midterms, whether we win 2028, God willing, at some point, we're not going to be in power. And I think you and I would have been on the first few deportations to the gulags if Trump had not won.
I've already got my gulag job lined up. I'm going to be teaching Mandarin to everyone so that we will be able to communicate with the guards. What's your gulag job?
Oh, well, I could do Arabic.
So you'll be teaching Arabic?
Yes.
So we'll be able to, to speak with the soldiers of the new army.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the people that they're promoting, right, with all their leftist values.
Shukran.
Yeah, afwan.
That's really all I know. Well,
that's all I remember. No,
yeah. No, but it's true though. It's true. They were rounding up patriots. They were rounding up Christians. They were going after anyone who's like me. Oh, you're praying in Latin a little bit too hard there, Mr. Roman Catholic. We're going to be infiltrating you with the FBI. And talking about the book again. I didn't mean to do the book promo, but as it happens,
since we're talking about this,
I don't even have a copy of it with me. But no, they go after the religious first. They go after the religious because they realize that someone who is devoutly religious will be someone that stands up to your regime, because the left is theocratic. They believe it is a religion, and if you don't believe me, cross one of their dogmas and see what happens, which you have made an entire career of. Yes,
exactly, and not just that. That's also why they've feminized men. They don't want strong families. All of those things. When you believe in God, when you have a good family, when you're happy, when you're physically healthy, you're much more likely to be mentally healthy too. And so they eroded all those things with us to more easily take over. But can I go back to something on Fauci for a second? And sorry, not Fauci, Biden rather. I'm having a little Biden moment. Something that's really irked me.
Are you having a Pfizer moment?
No, I just really need a matcha after this.
Okay.
We were rushing this morning, but something that really bothers me is with prostate cancer. I actually have a family member who had it years ago, but it's one of those cancers that usually they diagnose very early, and it takes an incredibly long time to spread. I know we've heard the news about Scott Adams, which is very sad, and prayers out for him. But when it comes to Biden, when you have the top care in the world, and President
of the United States is concierge care,
yes,
24/7. He doesn't go anywhere. All these foreign trips, he would always, every time he's on the plane, they've got flight surgeons and they've got 100%. Everything up there with him, because he's the president of the United States. The president's health is a national security issue.
Yes.
So of course, and there was that situation do you remember the Las Vegas thing?
Yes, of course, last summer.
So last summer when he was in Vegas, right before he dropped out, everyone stopped talking about this. And Tucker and I got into it, and Charlie Kirk was talking about it, that there was this whole scare where they almost rushed him to a hospital because he fainted, or he sort of like went out, and they cut his Las Vegas trip short. Then they ended up taking him back to Air Force One, and they flew back to DC, like flank speed, made it from Vegas to DC in like 2.5 hours, way faster than anyone's ever done. So the question is, that's not something you do because, he's got like a sniffle, or he's got a headache or something. That's something. And I think that's when it came out. They said that he had COVID, and they said, it's just COVID.
Yes.
It was never just COVID, was it?
No, but you know what's really disturbing about all of this? Of course, they hid this from the American people. A lot of this feels like treason to me, that there are so many people who must have been complicit to cover this up. And even if you didn't know it was cancer, right? Do I think George Clooney writing the op-ed with his friend Barack Obama, do I think he knew it was cancer? No, not necessarily. But Dr. Jill Biden, who is less of a doctor than my Dr. Pepper, she knew, and they didn't treat it because she wanted to stay in power so badly that it was no chemo or no surgery, however it is that you would treat this.